Welcome back to another episode of History Bodied. We focus on the most interesting questions and topics surrounding the world that we live in. Subscribe to the channel now and become part of the community, so you never miss any of our latest uploads. In this video, we will be looking at the history of the beautiful country of Tanzania. Let's get started with today's video. From around the 1st millennium CE, the region was settled by Bantu-speaking peoples who migrated from the west and north. The coastal port of 𝐦𝐤𝐤 was established around 800 CE by Arab traders, and Persians similarly settled Pemba and Zanzibar. By 1200 CE, the distinctive mix of Arabs, Persians, and Africans had developed into Swahili culture. It is said that the mainland portion of what is now Tanzania was named by a British civil servant in 1920, from the Swahili words Tanga and Nyika. What was known formerly as German East Africa became Tanganyika territory. In 1964, Tanganyika was joined with Zanzibar, an offshore archipelago of islands, to form the present United Republic of Tanzania. Vasco da Gama sailed up the coast in 1498, and the coastal zone soon fell under the control of the Portuguese. By the early 1700s, Zanzibar had become a center for the Omani Arab slave trade. The Bantu-speaking peoples migrated to Eastern Africa when trade between Arabic-speaking peoples and coastal populations was initiated in the 1st century BCE. Later in the century, Arab trading posts were well established along the coast and on some islands. Although Vasco da Gama landed on the East African coast in 1498, it was not until 1506 that the Portuguese fully controlled trade on the Indian Ocean. The Arabs traded along the coastline for centuries when Said ibn Sultan moved his capital from Oman to Zanzibar in 1840 to take advantage of the slave markets. During the early 19th century, Arab slave and ivory traders began to penetrate deeper into the interior of what was to become Tanzania. In 1890, Zanzibar became a British protectorate while the mainland became part of German East Africa. The period of German rule was extremely heavy-handed. When the Africans fought back during the 𝐦𝐨𝐬𝐤𝐸 Rebellion of 1905, tens of thousands were killed. After the defeat of Germany in World War I, German East Africa was made a League of Nations mandated territory, called Tanganyika. Following World War II, Tanganyika became a United Nations trusteeship of Great Britain. Adhering to a policy of indirect rule, the British government used indigenous political systems to implement their control, resulting in much less open hostility than occurred during German rule. Tanzanians share strong feelings of national pride and cohesion. Tanzanians have resolved most internal problems without resorting to violence because of a shared language, the lack of political or economic dominance by any ethnic group, and the strong leadership provided by the first president of Tanzania. Tanzanians are extremely friendly, welcoming, and laid back, with very few specific rules to follow. There are many smaller indigenous groups with their customs, so take the lead from your guide and the people around you regarding best practices for each group. Zanzibaris are predominantly Muslim, and most people have a modest appearance, and many women wear a veil. When dining, use your right hand to eat and pass food. The Tanzania culture is Swahili, an Arab/African mix, but significant Asian communities, mainly Indian, are also in towns and cities. Tribes inhabit rural areas, including the Maasai of the Great Rift Valley of the North. Zanzibar is predominantly Muslim, so attention to dress is paramount, and women should always keep their knees and shoulders covered. Various festivals go on throughout the year in Tanzania, featuring traditional dress and dance. There are also periodic arts and film events, while objects of fascination can be picked up at markets nationwide. Tanzanian food is simple, and each tribe has its specialities. Ugali is hugely popular and is a cooked starchy paste made from flour and water. A meat stew usually accompanies it with tomatoes, onions, and other chopped vegetables. For most Tanzanians, including those who live in urban areas, no meal is complete without a preferred staple carbohydrate such as corn, rice, cassava, sorghum, or plantains. The staple is accompanied by fish, beef, goat, chicken, or fried pieces of meat, along with several vegetables or condiments, commonly including beans, chunks of pumpkin, and sweet potatoes. Well, that brings us to the end of today's video, all about Tanzania. Did you know about the culture of Tanzania? Let us know in the comments down below.